By now I'm sure you're familiar with the Peugeot 3008. Peugeot launched it at the end of 2016, start of 2017, and not only does it look really good, but it's got a decent choice of engines, drives pretty well, and it's also got one of the best interiors on any new car. It's genuinely one of the best cars I think that Peugeot's ever made. But I hear you cry, what do I do if I want 2 extra seats and a little bit more space? Well, that's where the 5008 enters the picture. Now don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, don't forget to like this video, don't forget to comment, and also don't forget to visit newmotoring.com because it's the first week of October at the moment, and over the next few weeks we're driving a lot of cars. 2 of them in particular are going to be very, very exciting. Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio and the McLaren 720S. It's going to be quite a change going from a 5008 to a McLaren 720S, I'm going to be honest. Now, while I personally wouldn't need 7 seats, so I think a 3008 would suit me just fine, I don't run Peugeot, and nor do I decide what customers actually want. So for some people, 7 seats and that extra space is actually pretty useful. Design-wise, I think Peugeot has done a decent job, and to be fair, from the front doors forward, it is pretty much identical to a 3008. Granted, it does look a little bit awkward from some angles at the back. I think 7-seat SUVs are probably quite difficult to design because some of them have got a whiff of a van about them. But I think Peugeot have done a decent job. As for the inside, I think the only thing I can say is wow, because, I mean, like the 3008, it's just so different and visually interesting compared to anything else on the market. If people ask me to give an example of a really well-designed interior, I'll point them towards the 3008, and now I'll just point them towards the 5008 as well. Now, how does the 5008 drive? You've got 2 petrol engines in the 5008. You've got a 1.2 litre turbocharged 3-cylinder with 130 brake horsepower, and you get that with either a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic. You can also get a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine with 165 brake horsepower, and that only comes with a 6-speed automatic. As for diesels, you've got a choice of 3. There's a 1.6 litre with either 100 or 120 brake horsepower. There's a 2 litre with either 150 or 180 brake horsepower, and from December there'll be a 1.5 litre, and that'll have 130 brake horsepower. It's a little bit frustrating that the most powerful petrols and the most powerful diesels all have automatic gearboxes. I would like a manual gearbox option, but that's just the way it is, I can't change it. Now today I've driven the 150 brake horsepower diesel and the 130 brake horsepower petrol. Now the diesel was actually pretty good. It felt a little bit stressed the higher up in the rev range you went, and it was a little bit noisier as well, but had 273 foot-pounds of torque at 2000 RPM, and it's good to make the most of that and keep the revs nice and low. 0 to 60 was 9.6 seconds and the top speed is 129 miles an hour. That's pretty respectable for a 7-seat SUV like this. Now this petrol has 130 brake horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 170 foot-pounds of torque at 1,750 RPM. 0 to 60 takes 10.9 seconds and the top speed is 119 miles an hour. And while it is a little bit slower, I just prefer the way it drives. It's quieter, it makes a better noise, and just to enjoy, you can rev the engine and the throttle's just a little bit sharper. I just prefer it. The steering is electric, so it's quite light, doesn't really give you any information, but it's quite quick and you get used to it. It suits this car actually. The issue I have though is the fact that I can't get the seat low enough for me to feel comfortable. I feel like I'm riding on top of the car rather than sitting low and being a part of it and being able to control it properly. And that's kind of made worse by the fact that Peugeots have small steering wheels nowadays, which is no bad thing, you get used to it quite quickly. But to see the dials, you have to have the steering wheel quite low. And that, combined with the fact that the seat is too high, it just feels like the steering wheel is down by my knees. The suspension is pretty sorted, but I think it takes slightly longer to react and deal with bumps than the 3008, and you can feel it's just a little bit softer, I think. But in terms of weight, this car only weighs about 60 kilos model for model, more than a 3008, and you don't really notice that. As for the gearbox, the 6-speed manual gearbox is just a really good gearbox. Not just for this class, it's a good gearbox full stop. Now hopefully in the next couple of months I'll get another drive in this car, because to be honest I've only been driving it for today, so I'm sure there's plenty more to learn. If you've got any questions as well about this car, put them in the comments below, and then hopefully the next time I drive it I can start to answer them. Now prices start at about £24,500, and the most expensive one you can get is about £35,700, so you can spec this up to be quite an expensive car, but then again you're getting 7 seats and it's very well spec'd actually, so I don't know, perhaps that's not too bad. And Peugeot reckons that around 60% of people will go for diesels and 40% will go for petrols. I like it though. It doesn't feel too dissimilar from a 3008, and that's no bad thing. For me, I prefer the looks of the 3008, but if you want that extra space, I suppose it does make sense.